Good morning. How y'all doing? This is old Jesse. This morning I'm planning on talking a little bit more about Proverbs 23. We're going to read verses 22 through 25 and talk about it a little bit and have a little chat. So here goes. Hearken unto thy father that begat thee, and despise not thy mother when she is old. Buy the truth, and sell it not. Also wisdom and instruction and understanding. The father of the righteous shall greatly rejoice, and he that begetteth a wise child shall have joy of him. Thy father and mother shall be glad, she that bare thee shall rejoice. So this is it seems simple, Listen to your mom and dad, even when they're old. Okay, we talked about that some yesterday. Now, buy the truth and sell it not. Okay, what does that mean? Let's look at some recent history of the United States. We sold our technology off. Okay, so when you buy the truth, when you buy facts, when you buy logic, and you don't sell it, that means you can implement it in your daily life. You can implement good things for yourself and your family, good things for your workforce, good things for your government, and you have a technological advantage over the world and the things in the world. And the best kind of knowledge is free. You can get free advice from just about anybody you talk to. It might not be good advice, but it'll be free. So take that with a grain of salt. The other issue with buy the truth and sell it not is, well, look at the way the churches are run today. Most of them have pastors that are paid, and you basically go to church to pay the pastor. They get up there and they're basically selling the truth every Sunday, Wednesday night, or whatever Bible class night you have during the week, maybe a Saturday. So they're basically selling the truth. Is what you're buying watered down? Is it valuable? It's a nice social place to go. To be honest with you though, it's a lot cheaper to go to the store, buy you a Bible, buy you whatever Hebrew or Greek dictionaries that you need, or concordances, and get you copies of the old language text and sit down and study it yourself. You're gonna get more out of it that way. That's buy the truth and sell it not. You bought you a Bible. What are you gonna do with it when it's old and all that? Who knows? It might sit on the shelf for years and years and years and you never pick it up, or it might get worn out and you might have to get another one, and well, the old copy goes in the garbage can. So these are the things that you kind of need to, be careful of, because speaking about specifically God's truth is free. It was always meant to be free. Jesus spoke it for free. The Apostle spoke it for free. All the prophets spoke it for free. Moses spoke it for free. Like, everybody in the Bible did what they did and wrote what they wrote for free. Okay? So buy the truth and sell it not. Science isn't free. Okay? But we have the internet, and we have free sources of information on the internet. So, when it comes to this kind of thing, don't be a seller of information. Don't be a seller of truth. Be a buyer of it. Okay? When you buy it, you value it. When you purchase something, it places a value on what you purchased, whether that be a college degree or a theological degree or a school that you go to, or a trade school, or what have you. Buy the truth and sell it not. So, wisdom and instruction and understanding. And that makes it very clear what it is. Wisdom is the application of the knowledge that you learn. The proper application of the knowledge you learn. Okay? Instruction is the instructor giving you that knowledge. And understanding is understanding the good and the bad of the knowledge. Okay? So buy the truth and sell it not, also wisdom and instruction and understanding. All right, and the next verse. The father of the righteous shall greatly rejoice, and he that begetteth a wise child shall have joy of him. Okay, I'm gonna talk about some family stuff. It's gonna be kind of hard. When I grew up, I was a bit of a wild kid, but I wasn't wild in the sense of go out there and do drugs and steal cars and stuff. I was just very active. And my parents were very happy with me that I was honest and that I didn't go looking for trouble. And within reason, as a child would, tried to obey them. They were happy about that. And as I got older, you do things that make people unhappy or what have you. But I can tell you, once I started having marital problems, once I started having sanity issues, and this started like 10 years ago, there was a lot of, and even today, I don't have a good relationship with my parents anymore. Some of it has to do with what they did with family. Some of it's got to do with me and how I perceive things. So what I'm saying is, be the kind of person that, within your capability, okay, let me qualify that, within your capability as a human being, be the kind of person that's righteous, that's smart and wise, that's capable, okay? That's going to make everybody around you happy. It's going to make your parents happy. It's going to make you happy. It's going to make your wife happy. It's going to make your kids happy. Okay? Knowledge, the knowledge in your mind isn't righteousness. Okay, let me repeat that. The knowledge that you know isn't righteousness. The knowledge that you know is good. It can cause much grace and prosperity in your life. It could cause you to be more merciful in your relationships. Okay? But it is not righteousness. It doesn't matter if it's Bible knowledge or not. Your actions, what you do, some of what you know, your personal conduct, and your relationships with other people. Those are things of righteousness. And also what you teach, whether you lie or not. Those are things of righteousness. Okay? And the greatly rejoicing in he that begetteth a wise child, the father of the righteous shall greatly rejoice, and he that begetteth a wise child shall have joy of him. Okay, so with me, I have kids. I've got 3 kids. When my daughter was young, she was really, really smart. That made me super happy. I was like, this kid's a genius. She's like 3 or 4, and she can do all her numbers and letters and read and all kinds of stuff and do math. And I was like, wow, she's way ahead. Like, then my first son come along, and he a little bit slower than his sister. But I also think that's because we weren't able to we were busy teaching her, and he was learning along with her, but he had to start at a more advanced place because we didn't back up for him and start all over with him. And he grew up, and I haven't seen him in 6 months or so. Um, but he is a very thoughtful young man. Very thoughtful. Kind of a conniver a little bit, you know. He's kind of like tries to socially manage things in his favor and all that stuff like young teenagers do. Um, and you know, given that what he's gone through with my and his mother's circumstances, I'm fairly proud of him. Or at least I was until I didn't get to see him. And so now it's like I don't know what happened or what was said, but I'm worried about my kids because of that, because I just don't want bad stuff to happen. And then my youngest, well, I didn't get to raise him, you know. I really didn't get to be with him until he was almost 4 or 5. And he's not as wise as his brother. And I'm worried about him. And it greatly increases the worry when you know that one of your children has a tendency toward anger and upset and wildness, and there is no guidance in his life to make it better, or doesn't seem to be anybody that would guide him to make it better. So I can tell you from personal experience, these things are true. You know, they're true. And the smarter, the more intelligent, the more righteous your children are, because it's one thing to have a really smart kid that's very wicked. You can be proud of their smarts to some extent, but then you're like, ooh, that kid's going to get themselves in trouble. But a wise child that knows to stay out of trouble, that knows to learn good things for themselves, that knows enough to love themselves, okay? That knows enough to say, okay, well, I got to go through school, but this high school stuff, I need to make good grades, so I'm going to take just hard enough classes that I can pass everything with A's and B's. But I'm not going to take super hard classes where I'll fail. Like being wise enough to know their limits and to make that, to get themselves a scholarship, you know, because really it's not the parents that pick the classes. It's the kids a lot of times and the teachers. So that's kind of a thing that's like, it's very important for children to be wise, and it makes fathers and mothers very, very proud of them when the kids know their limits and they know what to do, and they're able to reason through complex problems. And it gives us, we might not always have a smile on our face, but it puts a happy face on the heart, and when you put a happy face on your parent's heart, they're going to live until a lot longer, until their old age. Because there's something that happens to parents. If you have a family that's destructive, there's a pretty good chance that the stress messes you up enough that you die young. You know? So consider that, children, while you're growing, you know, like, what you do affects your parents. Because I know what I've done affects my parents. I've probably given them more than their fair share of gray hairs, you know, because of things I've gone through. So think about that. And you know, like, I know that what I'm saying sounds good, whatever. I try to live by it, but I've got personal dysfunctions that I can't always live by. By the things that I know. You know, that's kind of a OCD thing and kind of a whatever, you know. Like, ADHD can mess that up pretty bad too. All right. Thy father and mother shall be glad, and she that bare thee shall rejoice. Okay, so here's the thing, is when you're smart and you're wise and you're capable of understanding and doing good for yourself and you love yourself, there's a pretty good chance that you also love your family. Okay? And the difference between men and women are that mothers are very emotional based. And fathers are very, very results based a lot of times. Not always, but mostly. You know, if you work hard and you're putting in a lot of effort, the father's like, yeah, you're doing good. You know, things are going to turn out because you're putting the effort in, you know. And how can I say this? That makes their hearts rejoice when the children put the effort into life. You know, there are things that can happen that can make a person become less than motivated, unmotivated, to live. And I've lived through things like that. Sanity issues cause that. Marital issues cause that. Religious disturbance, like if you grew up in a church and you're very well bound to them, and all of a sudden they start to blaspheme God's name or Jesus, that will mess you up permanently for the rest of your life. I know, because I've experienced it. So remember that the father and mother shall be glad, and she that bare thee shall rejoice, is you know, different parents react differently to what you do. You know, if you love yourself and you love your family, that's going to make your mother happy. Okay? And especially if you're capable of providing for yourself and providing for your kids and providing extra so that the grandparents get a little bit of extra. You know, you might go over to their house and eat on the weekends or whatever because you want family time, but it's going to make grandma really happy if you bring food with you. Why? Because they're old, and if they're paying for everything, that digs into their retirement. Okay? That's a simple thing. They want the family time, right? They want the family time, but they don't want to be burdened by the next generation. And that's the simplest way to say that. So, as a person that's middle-aged, growing up, that's what I see. As a young person, you know, every time I got a new job, my mom would get really happy for a couple weeks. You know, my dad would be like, well, we'll see how he does. And if I stayed there for a while and I was doing good and I was saving money, my dad would be like, yeah, all right, now we know you're doing good, you know. And you could tell in their attitudes how they were. And because as a young person, I took some time off just to play video games because that's what I wanted to do. Well, my parents became very, very worried. I wanted to have fun, and they're like, boy, you need to work. And they were right, but I also needed to have fun because I was young and that's what I wanted to do, and it was a stupid decision, and well, whatever, you know, like we do the things we do. I'd have been a whole lot better off taking that couple $1,000s and putting it into an ETF and sitting on it for the next 40 years. But it didn't happen. So thy father and mother shall be glad, and she that bare thee shall rejoice. That's a good one. So think about those things. Consider those verses that I spoke about this morning. And yeah. You know, leave some comments. And if you like it,